It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I wanted to cover another forum post because this actually covers something that I really thought a lot about when this update actually had came out, and it has to do with the 15 seconds of endurance off of hooks. Now, in particular, if behavior wants to add in 15 seconds of endurance, it only just adds on to the numerous second chances and other options that they have received on Survivor as it is. So I'm like, hey, that's pretty much to be expected. I kind of knew that was going to happen. They always tend to give them a lot of updates instead of the killers. So let's go ahead and actually read this, because this is particularly talking about the end game. So it says 15 seconds endurance in the end game is very stupid. They say, what were the devs thinking giving survivors 15 seconds of endurance during the end game? It's basically a free escape. 15 seconds of running at 4.4 meters per second with invulnerability. I've already lost so many games to this unfair situation. A survivor can literally cross half the map with a speed boost and protection. There's nothing you can do. Even if you switch targets, they just use it to body block you. The end game was already survivor sided, and this just makes it even more difficult and unfair for killers. Now, I completely agree with the post. I think that this is definitely something that I've seen plenty of times. End game situations, pretty much, I don't even really attempt to get any kills out of it, because 9 times out of 10, the 15 seconds will just work in their favor. If I leave them on the ground, my characters are not quick enough to keep up. Unless I'm playing Blight, I'm not going to be fast enough to down them and get towards, and even move towards them in a quick span of time to even build pressure. It simply is just impossible, especially with characters like Ghostface or Legion, or even like Trapper, Pig, or whatever character I decided to play. It's pretty much impossible to be able to keep up with them at the end game. It's pretty much over. And let alone that a lot of the time there's hope, a lot of the time there may be even adrenaline as the end game even begins, so you can't even have them injured and have a chance. It's pretty much over the second that you basically see the last gen get completed. And it's unfortunate. And it only leads back into just Blight being the main character that can do that. And that's why people play Blight. And that's why people play high mobility, because it's just better. You have a much higher chance of success. Because, and as you guys who've even tuned into the stream, literally the other day, it was just back to back to back losses. There was really nothing I could have done with any of my characters. Gens are already crazy. So then you're going into endgame even quicker, which means you don't really have a lot of options. So yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. The endgame is already pretty survivor-sided. The gate opens in less than 20 seconds. So if the map is big and you're on one side of the map, the gate's already halfway, if not already open by the time you cross, with a regular mobility character like Ghostface or something, not like a dash killer. So yeah, let's go ahead and read the responses. So it says, so of course, I already knew that the first 2 responses were going to be from the resident survivor mains we always tend to see here. And they say, when you lost games because 15 seconds in endgame, you were already losing at this point, but I guess killers still want their pity kill in endgame. So as you can see, this is what I've been trying to spotlight for you guys within the DVD community. You know what I mean? This is something that I want to spotlight. There's a lot of the us versus them conversations. They constantly will project and say that because you're pointing out these issues that all of a sudden you're only biased to killer, but yet they simultaneously are biased to survivor. They simultaneously are biased to their perspective. They do not care about your experience. They do not care about your fun or your enjoyment of the game. They only care about themselves. They're selfish. They don't care about that. And that's already being shown by the response. The very first response from this individual is that they don't care. They don't care about the balance of the game, and they clearly don't care about you as a player if you decide to play killer. But if you're a survivor, all of a sudden your opinions matter. And then of course the other one, endgame being survivor sided, is an amazing take. I'll remember that next time I get 2 hooks all match and 3 kills in endgame. Which this is not something that you just get every game. So I don't know why they're saying that like as if it's common. It's not every single killer can do that. Keeping in mind as well that like if you have survivor players that are going to be super altruistic and greedy, then they already lost the game, because you can use that. You should have been able to use that to your advantage from the early game. But if they're just hyper focused on objectives and they're like, yo, I'm about to get this escape even if we lose one, then they're just gonna fly out the gate. It doesn't matter if you hook them or not. You just walk out with your one kill. But keeping in mind that a lot of players are not going against the most intelligent players in the game. They're not going against the most like high level or even experienced. They go against the more like newer players, average players, and then they assume that because of that perspective, they know the whole game. And it's like, no, that's not entirely the case. Now, unfortunately, with the nature of DVD, a lot of things are very, varied, I should say. Very varied, if you will. It's a lot of anecdotal, because a lot of people have different MR levels, play different characters. It different times a day can affect it. Different times, what do you call it? Different regions and stuff like that also affect like different things too. Like, even Japan and the US played the game differently and stuff like that. So it's hard to like pinpoint certain things completely. And that's why context is important. But yeah, so they say something about pulling off the save they can have it or something like that. So they're just kind of yapping. So there's not really anything there to really discuss. So let's look at this person, which I think was the original poster. They say, I could say the same thing when survivors want to win at all costs and get 3 or 4 escapes. The 15-second endurance at the end game is unfair, in most situations uncounterable. You just don't care because it gives you a free escape, which is very true. 15 seconds of haste, right? And on top of that, endurance, meaning that if you were to play a character with range, they can just eat it and then get an additional speed boost, because they're already moving with haste. They get a hit with endurance and then they move even faster. So regardless of the character you're playing, you're pretty much not getting anything. And that has happened a lot of times. Like if I decide to hook at the end game, it's pretty much wraps. Like there really isn't anything I can do in response to that. And it just kind of is what it is. Like the game has kind of formed into this monstrosity that I didn't think would turn out to be the case, but I always knew. I always knew. I've always said this, and people constantly were trying to hit me with Thanos. You know what I mean? They called me a madman, and I always knew. I always knew it was gonna turn out this way, but they didn't want to believe. So trust me, like as you can see, I'm usually right about these things. Because once again, they don't even take into account what bro is talking about, because he can't even fathom what bro is talking about. Because he doesn't play the killer side enough to even understand what the hell is he's talking about. Because when I play killers so often, I can look at this and go, yup, I already recalled like at least 3 times already where I'm like, yup, that happened. Can't do anything about that. I'm like literally on stream. We had a Legion match where that happened. They got off hook, flew away. I was like, well, I'm walking up to them pretty much. Even with Frenzy, I'm like, even if I get up with Frenzy, I hit them. They get a speed boost from that. And I have to cancel going with Legion, and then they just run away anyway. So I'm like, it was just wraps. Like there was nothing I could do. They just made it out the gate regardless. Like it didn't matter. That's a ton of haste. Like it's a ton of haste for a long time. Because he says when survivors try to do that, they usually die. Like, no. And what doesn't make any sense, try to do that, they usually die. Like, no, they said if they are focused on getting the 3 to 4 escapes, meaning that if someone goes down, they leave. So they lack reading comprehension as well, apparently. Like, it's kind of interesting. They say I'm the first one who says that survivors don't always have to escape at 4. Well, it doesn't matter what you say, you still respond with animosity toward people that decide to play killer because they find it fun. So like that, your opinion is irrelevant at that point. And they say, and yet I see all the time that survivors throw themselves away at endgame, even if it's not as free as you claim it is. But yet that's not what bro is talking about. Like I said, they lack reading comprehension. He said you can say the same when they win at all costs and get 3 to 4 escapes. Just like I just said, right? I've had that even in the last stream, right? If you guys were familiar, either I was playing Legion or some other M1 Trapper, whatever. I can put them on the hook. They'll just leave. They're like, all right, cool, like done. You know what I'm saying? They just move on to their next. They're like, all right, cool. Like, even if one dies, 3 out, they still win. As a team, they still won. So like, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter that I see it all the time in my anecdotal experience, because at the end of the day, he's not even referring to that experience anyway. He didn't say that they're attempting to save. They said that they're going to leave. That's what he said. When they attempt to get 3 or 4, that means that one person might die, but they still leave. They lack, I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. And then as you can see right here, he just starts blabbing about some nonsense and says just the usual. So you already know what, like, it's already a given what mentality these people have. So they say, this person says, if a killer can't, as killer you can't turn an unhook attempt into a trade during endgame, then something is wrong. They already removed the face camping prevention to allow killers to secure an endgame kill. There's absolutely no reason to remove the post unhook endurance as well. They're not trying to say, well, at least from my perspective, I don't think they're trying to say to remove it. I think they're just trying to say reduce it. Because that's really a lot. It doesn't make any sense to have 15 seconds of it. That's just insane. So that's already a problem in my opinion. Secondly, regardless if you want to phase camp or not, they can just trade out. Like, you hit one person, another person grabs them, you hit them, now everyone flies out. You're like, okay, well, what the hell are you supposed to do? You have hit cooldowns. The only time you're gonna maybe have a chance is if you have save the best for last. But the only characters using that are very slim, right? Because most characters don't get much value out of save the best. Dev Slinger is a good example. Like, you shoot the obsession, even like by landing your chain, you're losing 2 stacks. So you lose 4 stacks for just getting a single hit on an obsession, for example. So even characters that you think like save the best would be pretty good on, it's still ass. So it's like, no, that doesn't work either. They say, I get that losing the only kill of a game to according to Swift Bully Squad endgame is frustrating. I've been the receiving end of it myself. But even with full squads, it's still a risky play, can easily backfire. Sure, I guess. I mean, it's contextual. Like, it depends on the character, right? If you're playing Blight, you might not even get to endgame. Or if you're playing Blight and you do get to endgame, you might still perform well. But if you're playing Skull Merchant or Trapper with no powers, right? Like, you pretty much, you know, it's just GG's at that point. Because as Ghostface specifically, you can't just cloak up in front of the hooked person and try to, like, lean around a wall or something. They will reveal you. Like, through walls even. Because that's how buggy the power is for some reason. It's just a thing. I don't know why, but it is. And a character even like that, like, what are you doing in that endgame? You just have to preemptively hope you have them marked. But if you can't do it, then you're M1 Andy. You're not actually going to down anyone because of that. For every killer game I had a 0k endgame standoff, there are 3 to 4 games I've secured 2 or more of botch attempts to unhook during endgame. Sure, I guess. I mean, you can say that, but they're not addressing the random times that work. They're addressing the times that it doesn't. Like, especially by using a 4.4. Well, they're saying that running at 4.4, so they're actually running as fast as the killer does. If you're playing like a ranged killer, so that's actually kind of insane. And then they want to say on the bright side, this is a regular occurrence, so we drop your MMR to face survivor teams you can cope with better, which is just ridiculous, bro. The DB community never wants to acknowledge people's experiences. They just want to sit there and do this. Oh, it's just a skill problem. It's like, no, it's not. Like, people across the board are having this issue. This person right here is actually right off the bat says endgame can be cited for each side. It all depends on circumstances. Like M1 with 4 people alive, he has 1 hook, and that far isn't from the that hook isn't far from the gate, like 40 meters. If you tell me that killer sided situation, I'll get all my answers, and that situation is basically very survivor sided, which is exactly my point. That's what I was discussing. The fact of the matter is, like, if you're rocking Ghostface, Skull Merchant, you're not catching up to them at all. Even Legion, you're not catching up. Even if you frenzy and hit them, that's it. They already made it out the gate because you have to cancel. Like, you you can't follow up after that. They get a speed boost when they receive the frenzy, but like you're not really getting anything. So that's just the point, you know. If Killer has not strong endgame build or survivors don't screw up the point, but even Noah can easily be countered on the high player count. 3 people can save one against M1 body block to the gate. Exactly. You know, taking into account that hope is usually pretty common now, I would assume, because of the fact that gens are so quick, so endgame just comes quicker now. So now I'm starting to see an uptick in adrenaline. So I'm like, yeah, these people are fully aware that the gens are flying. They're fully aware that the matches are ending quickly. So they're putting on more endgame perks. You know, it's very slow, but I'm seeing it. So it's like, it's just a wrap. You know what I mean? It really is just a wrap. It's all depending on circumstances. Like Hunters on Larry's can hardly get that hook if they play well, because 4.4 meters per second killers are kind of cooked. Either they commit, basically gain no distance for 15 seconds just to keep it the same, go for another survivor, and then obviously Spirit kind of breaks it, you know, blah blah blah. But yeah, but you know, they're right. That's pretty much exactly what I was thinking. So then this person's just kind of yapping about some other nonsense that has really nothing to do with anything, as we kind of expected. Then they kind of go back and forth about like slugging, it looks like. So this person says, I don't think you deserved the win after playing like crap, but yet that is actually inaccurate, because if that were true, then survivors also should not be rewarded for playing like badly, but they do. So he wants to try to, like, you know, they try to make it so, oh, this 1 kill pity prize, but it's like survivors throughout the match get pity prizes. Like if they equip decisive strike, now they have a second chance for dying quickly. You have 60 seconds to use decisive. So if you survive longer than a minute, then you won't need it, right? Or like Dead Hard, you get rewarded for going down quickly, then you have a second chance in chase to have an endurance hit. So to be fair, right, like if you're really trying to talk about one hit, you know, all these little pity prizes in the game, then what about that? Like, because they want to claim it's just killer, right? Oh, you lost, accept it. It's like, you're not supposed to win every match. It's like that also applies to both ends though. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. But they always like to ignore that. They like to constantly pretend as if Survivor has absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? But that's inaccurate. And this person's pretty much saying exactly what I'm thinking, which is like the 15% would be quite well, they're talking about killer, but either way, 15 seconds is a long time. Like, let's be really so for real right now. 10% haste, I think, for 15. So that's a lot. That's a long time. If I'm not mistaken, it should be like 10%. So that's a very long time. And they can run across the map crazy quick. And then stack it onto like an exhaustion perks they have live. They'll just run it, vault it, 60% haste at that point. It's a lot of haste. Is it 60%? Probably not. Probably like a little bit lower than that. I forget. I think maybe that was that 2v8 that I saw 60. But either way, it's a lot of haste, dude. Like, they're running pretty far. They want to say that it doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but I win a huge chunk of my matches in endgame. So if you are winning a bunch of your matches in endgame, that probably means you're not going against the strongest players. Like, let's be really so for real. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going against like smart players like that are trying to win the game, they're not going to take big risks like that. Like, that just makes no sense. They're just not going to take a big risk. That's just not, that doesn't make sense for them to do that. Because they want to say it's very easy, but they say for me. They don't say, they want to make it like a broad statement, but no, it's only for you because their MMR levels is at the lower end. So of course you're going to be able to get easy wins and all this other stuff. But, and then he wants to try to claim like it's some kind of mental game and pull out just some nonsense. You know what I mean? They just blab and blab about a bunch of like just nonsensical junk, like that makes no sense. It doesn't apply to any of the conversation. But keep in mind, like, these are the same people playing at the lowest their MMRs, or the lower end. They're not playing against smart players. They're not playing against the sweatiest of the sweat. They're not going against Swifts. They're not going against a lot of these things. Let's keep in mind, they mainly play Survivor. Like, as much as they like to claim that they have their one occasional killer game, 9 times out of 10, they're usually playing Survivor. That's what we see with their posts every time we scroll through these things. And obviously, you know, telling us in the conversation here, which, yeah, you don't want to do that. And this person says, why is BT Outsider perk available in the end game to begin with is the better question. All the anti-mechanics should be shut off during end game. I agree with that. Like, I think that, like, they should have reduced the 15 seconds of endurance to, like, 10 back to before the patch. So at least they're not, like, because that extra 15 can make a lot of distance. At least if they reduce it down to, like, original 10 around end game, at least you can go, okay, it's end game. They're not going to be like, we don't need the extra, like, you know, endurance because they already hit the end game. They're not being tunneled at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because the whole reason that the endurance was added was so that they can circumvent it during the mid game and the early game, right? It was to add the additional time. But the thing is that now that it's end game, you could just deactivate that, make it 10 like it used to be, and you're pretty much good to go. Like, you really don't have to make it that crazy. But I think that would be a good distinction, but I have no idea. And I want to say because it should favor killer even more, as if it favored killer in the first place. I would really like to know what, like, in what scenario does endgame ever favor killer unless they have the build for it? Because most of the time, if you're running a killer build, it's for the mid game. Like, you're running something for vaults, or like something for slowdown, and something for breaking stuff, or whatever have you, depending on your character and build. 9 times out of 10, it's for the early to mid game stuff, like lethal, even, or nowhere to hide, or something like that. All these perks are irrelevant by the time you get to the end game, right? Because there's no gens to progress, there's no gen to kick, there's no pallets really to break, really, you know, because it's at the end. So, like, in that situation, it's like the only people that are going to make something happen is either a high mobility character that already does well anyway, or it's going to be somebody trying to run endgame to keep up, and then still has to try to scrape by with 1 extra kill because of how quick the door opens, regardless of what situation, the map size contributes to it, yada yada yada. There's a lot of different factors in play. But because of their anecdotal experience at low level MMRs, all of a sudden they think they know everything about the game. It's like, that's not how it works. And this person says it correctly. The killer has nothing else to do and is up against a free escape since it's 15 seconds of endurance plus the movement speed boost, which is also lasting for 15 seconds. I think it's 10% haste. And then it says whatever perks the survivor brought. Yup. So sometimes they can even have hope, or they can have lithe, or they can have sprint burst. So then that's additional speed on top of the endurance and on top of the movement. So, like, they have double, if not triple, more of a chance because of those factors. And the healthy survivors, if they decide to heal and then come back, pretty much wraps. You're just M1ing, wiping your weapon for 2 minutes. They're already out the gate by that point. Like, there's nothing you can do. Just saying. And then also, that's also a good point. Like, Hatch is a pity escape. Kind of insane. You know what I mean? Like, we have people here saying pity kills, pity this, pity that. But what about the pity escapes, like Hatch? Right? I mean, the game has pity in it. Like, pity mechanics, or whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it that, there you go. Like, it's already in the game. Like, so you can't say, oh, it's the killers, but they're trying to get a pity kill. What about the Hatch, though? Like, that's a pity mechanic. Like, what are you talking about? Isn't, like when they start going down that path, it's like, I call it like the path of semantics. Because it's like, you want to claim that one side has the one thing, but it's like, okay, but are we forgetting that the other side also has pity mechanics? The game in general has pity mechanics in it. Like, it's there for both sides. Like, let's be so for real. All they're really asking for is, can we reduce some of the pity on the end game, considering that killers have little to nothing in that situation? This is a minor change that could maybe help out a little bit, because you still have hope you can use. You still have your exhaustions that stack with the haste off of the hook. You still have your teammates that are fully healing and body blocking for you, and you also still have chance for Hatch. So reducing the endurance duration by 5 seconds for endgame is literally just a little bit of, like, a little piece out of the puzzle. Like, it's not even asking for much. But because they're so greedy and, like, you know, just so entitled, it's like they need to have all of these ridiculous things in play. because without him, they'll probably lose, and they can't fathom that idea. And the ironic thing is that they still lose even with those mechanics in place. It's kind of insane. And what makes these things so powerful is the fact that experienced players can use these things even more effectively than just some clown that just doesn't know what the hell they're doing, right? But then we'll run to here and then complain, right? But yeah, new players, I mean, sure, they can use it, but they're not going to use it as effectively as a veteran, right? You know what I mean? That's how it goes. And that's what makes it so annoying and so powerful. That's what people's point really is. I don't understand like what the hell they're talking about. This it doesn't hatch exist, and they want to say only if the kidder decides it will. What are you talking about, bro? He'll be making up stuff, man. Oh, this person actually makes a good point too. They say 15 seconds of endurance give the survivor a free 60 meters of movement. Average map size is 98 by 98 meters squared. This means that unless you're literally the exact opposite end of the map, you get a free escape on unhook. And even then, the gates usually split up in a way where you will be within 66 meters of one. So then you forgot to add the 10% movement, so it's actually 66 meters of free movement. And even if you manage to hit them off to break it, it gives them a free speed boost of 50% for 1.8 seconds combined with the 10% movement, giving them 15.5 meters of free distance before you can start moving, which, giving that they move 10% faster, is again a free escape. Which, assuming that that's correct, assuming that they were able to actually calculate it and give us the data, I would honestly, then hell yeah, like that would prove exactly what we're talking about. If it somehow isn't accurate, that's fine too. It at least adds more to the conversation, because it is a good way to kind of look at it and to be able to look into this a little bit more effectively, because at the end of the day, this is like, it's a minor like piece of the puzzle. Basically, it's a little piece where all I'm suggesting is reduce it to 10. Like, you don't even have it it doesn't need to be 15 for endgame. Like, that just makes no sense. Like, the only reason it was added was for the purposes of in the middle of the game and the early game, to not get them completely washed the second they had the chance. And it's still being used the opposite of what it should be used for. And then this person also mentions like that good regression perks are pretty much required for you to get downs. Require you to get downs, I should say. And yeah, like it's very bad. Yeah, like it's why people run strong characters. Is why people just kind of want to run Blight or you know, Nurse or whatever have you, because it's just like, why stress yourself out playing Ghostface, or stress yourself out playing Skull Merchant or Pig or this, that, and the third? Because at the end of the day, you're just like losing your mind, like sweating just so you can get the same kill but just easier on an S tier. It's like, why would you have to want to do that? That's way too much. You're like, you play games to have fun. You don't play a video game to have your heart rate increase, unless you're playing a horror game where they have jump scares in it, right? So like, that's just really my point. And I want to hear what you guys think in the comments section. What do you guys think about this topic at hand today? And I will see you guys in the next one. Consider liking and subbing. If you really want to support the channel, you can become a member on YouTube, Patreon, or even subbing on Twitch. I will see you guys in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and read off our members from Patreon. Pro King 101, YouTube members: Cargan Falcon, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not J-Lo, Evil Peach, Cozy Bozy, Theo Endire, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. And for the Twitch, we have Final Girl Bunny, Leona Art, Zazabu, Evil Blade, Danica, Crow Vader, Cake is a Road, Zeneron, Ginsburg, Mr. Morik, Kevin, Zero Mocker, Ashai Boo, and Gryffindor. Appreciate you guys supporting. Really means a lot. If you want to become a member, you can go ahead and join through Patreon or YouTube members, or even sub on Twitch. See you guys in the next one.